Welcome to the Debunkers Podcast. Today we're digging into something you've probably seen buzzing around: Gen Z in blue-collar jobs.
That's right. There's this narrative that they're all ditching college for the trades.
Exactly. So is that really what's happening? Or is it more complicated? We want to look at, what's driving it and what the future might hold.
And we've pulled together quite a bit for this stuff from Forbes, Newsweek, AME, that's the Associated Manufacturers Group,
Right.
ADP Research, Fox Business, News Nation, even looked at a CNBC Make It video transcript.
So a real mix of sources. And the mission here is, well, to get past those catchy headlines, wouldn't you say?
Precisely. To understand the nuances Gen Z in these jobs, the economics, and the whole AI angle too.
Okay, let's dive in. What's the initial hook? Why are these hands-on jobs catching Gen Z's eye when, college was supposed to be the default?
Well, a huge piece of it seems to be the money side of higher education. It just keeps getting more expensive.
Yeah, you hear that everywhere.
And it's not just the tuition, it's the fear of massive student debt afterwards. That's a major push factor away from the traditional path. We saw that echoed in CNBC, Newsweek, AME.
So people are actively looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that in enrollment numbers for vocational training.
We are actually. Newsweek and ADP pointed to, I think it was a 4.6% rise between 2019 and 2024 in vocational enrollment overall.
Okay, 4.6%.
But AME's data was even sharper, a 16% jump in vocational-focused community colleges just in the last year.
16%, wow.
Yeah, and specifically, AME noted construction trades up 23%, and things like HVAC and vehicle repair up 7%. So real movement there.
And it's not just avoiding debt, right? The actual pay in some trades has become more attractive, especially after the pandemic.
That's a really interesting part of this. The pandemic definitely shuffled the deck on wages.
How so?
Well, Newsweek and some other analyses showed blue-collar wages got a serious boost during that time. In some cases, they were matching or even temporarily beating entry-level white-collar pay.
Oh, beating them.
Temporarily, yeah. AME had specifics. Median pay for new construction hires, up 5.1% last year to over $48,000. Compare that to professional services new hires, they're averaged under $40,000.
Okay, that's a noticeable difference right out of the gate.
It absolutely is. Now, the question is, was that a temporary blip from pandemic demand, or is it a lasting shift that's still kind of up in the air?
Right. And besides the pay, there's this idea about job security too, especially with AI looming over office jobs, that playing a role.
Definitely seems to be. AME, Fox Business, CNBC, they all touched on this feeling that, hands-on work might be safer from automation.
Like AI can't swing a hammer yet.
Sort of, yeah. The Lincoln Tech CEO told Fox Business that post-COVID, people just have a better understanding of the need for trades, maybe seeing how essential they are.
And we've seen actual examples of young people making good money doing this.
Oh, for sure. CNBC featured a young woman, Morgan Bradbury, a welder. Started at 19, making around $57,000. Now she's 21, working on Navy ships.
Wow, that's impressive.
And then there was Chase Gallagher, 24. Skipped college, built a landscaping business, over $1 million in sales. He's personally making close to $500,000.
Okay, so these aren't just niche cases. There's real potential there.
And it's not just the stars. CNBC also mentioned starting pay for skilled trades generally is projected to rise over 25% between 2019 and 2025. From about $18.70 an hour to over $23.40.
So, okay, the picture so far is avoid college debt, get decent starting pay, maybe more job security, and see real success stories. Sounds pretty good.
It does lay out a strong case for the initial attraction, absolutely.
I sense there's a but coming. Is this interest holding steady?
Well, and that's where it gets more complicated. That ADP research data we mentioned, it showed that while the share of young workers in blue-collar jobs did rise after 2020, that trend kind of flattened out in 2022, plateaued, which suggests maybe that initial surge is, slowing down or potentially reversing. Newsweek flagged this too.
Oh, a plateau. So why would the enthusiasm be cooling off?
Could be a few things. Job satisfaction, for one. Newsweek mentioned a gap there. Only 43% of blue-collar workers reported high satisfaction compared to 53% in white-collar roles.
Okay, that's a 10-point difference.
And maybe more telling, a really high number, 65% of Gen Z in these blue-collar jobs see them as temporary. Just a way to get by for now.
65%. That's almost two-thirds viewing it as just a stepping stone.
Exactly. Pew Research found similar numbers for young adults. Generally, 65% of 18 to 29-year-olds see their current job that way, versus about half of workers 50 and older. So maybe it's partly generational, but it's pronounced in this group.
What makes them see it as temporary? Is it the work itself? Pay?
It's likely a mix. The physical demands, definitely, but also maybe limited perceived paths for growth or promotion in some trades. And those wage bumps we talked about, maybe they haven't kept pace after the initial pandemic surge.
So wage stagnation kicking in.
Could be. Newsweek had an article specifically titled, "Gen Z isn't looking to make blue-collar work a career." It mentioned some are actually looking to switch back to white-collar for, better pay potential and maybe a lighter workload.
And what about the long-term security, that initial perception of being AI-proof?
That's also being questioned. Concerns about eventual outsourcing, or ironically, automation creeping into blue-collar work itself are popping up. Newsweek mentioned this too.
Right, because automation isn't just about office software. Let's talk about AI more directly. Is it really staying out of the trades?
Not entirely, no. That narrative is shifting. Our own talks and that Newsweek piece, Gen Z is pulling back from blue-collar work, highlight AI making inroads.
Like how? Robots on assembly lines.
That's part of it, robotics and manufacturing. But also think about AI doing predictive maintenance, analyzing machine data to schedule repairs before something breaks. That changes the technician's job.
Yeah. Less fixing, more analyzing.
Potentially. Even CNBC video joked about smarter forklifts or AI helping plumbers diagnose issues. So technology is definitely integrating.
But it's not just replacing jobs, right? It's also creating new kinds of tech-focused blue-collar roles.
Exactly. That's the other side of the coin. Forbes talked about jobs like wind turbine technicians. You need mechanical skills and software skills. Same for avionics mechanics dealing with complex aircraft electronics.
The new-collar worker, I think AME called it.
That's the term they used, yeah. Blending technical and digital. And employers are noticing they're starting to build digital skills into training to attract younger folks. Think AI diagnostics for HVAC systems techs need to understand the hardware and the software now.
So learning new tech constantly is becoming key, even in the trades.
Absolutely critical. The CNBC transcript really hammered this point, upskilling, adapting. They called it Blue Collar 2.0, needing both hands-on and digital smarts.
Okay, another big theme that kept popping up. Entrepreneurship. Gen Z seems keen on being their own boss, and maybe trades offer a path.
A huge path, it seems. AME, Fox Business, our own notes, all pointing to massive interest. Something like 75% of Gen Z in trades are interested in starting their own business.
75%. Why the trade specifically for that?
Well, think about it. Compared to, say, needing a 4-year degree and then maybe an MBA to launch some ventures, the trades can look like a quicker, maybe cheaper route to self-employment. Fox Business mentioned this, and Chase Gallagher's landscaping success on CNBC is a perfect example.
Get the skill, get the license, hang out your shingle, basically.
In some ways, yeah. And they're not just doing it the old way.
Right, they're digital natives.
Exactly. They're using social media for marketing, maybe AI for scheduling or logistics, using tech to modernize these often traditional businesses. That gives them an edge.
So with all this happening, the initial interest, the plateau, the tech integration, the entrepreneurial drive, how are industries and policymakers reacting?
We're seeing some responses. Governments and unions seem to be doubling down on apprenticeships, trying to sweeten the deal with better benefits, healthcare, retirement, to keep people in the trades.
Trying to boost retention, not just recruitment.
Precisely. And that ties into what AME was saying about focusing on retaining those new-collar workers. It's about creating better work environments, more people-centric leadership, making the work feel meaningful, not just a job.
Do you think all this could actually change how blue-collar work is viewed? Chip away at that old low-status image?
There's definitely potential. You've got rising wages in some areas, the tech angle making it seem more modern, the clear path to being your own boss.
Plus the fact that we need these skills, right? The workforce is aging in many trades.
Huge demographic pressure there, driving demand. Though, again, AI might eventually fill some of those gaps, it's true. But overall, yeah, the perception could be shifting. Like the CNBC video hinted, the future probably belongs to people who can blend those hands-on and digital skills.
Of course, it's not all smooth sailing. Any potential bumps in the road mentioned?
The CNBC piece did briefly touch on tariffs. Things like that, trade policy changes could definitely throw a wrench in the works for industries like construction, impact costs, and demand. It's a global economy after all.
Good point. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. If we distill everything we've discussed, what are the main takeaways on Gen Z and blue-collar work?
Well, I'd say first, the initial interest was real, driven mostly by economics, college costs, debt avoidance, and those temporary wage spikes, plus that sense of AI-proof security.
But that interest might be leveling off.
Seems like it. Long-term commitment is uncertain. Factors like job satisfaction, physical demands, and the fact that tech is changing these jobs play a big role. It's not necessarily a lifelong career move for many.
And the future looks hybrid.
Very much so. It's about blending traditional skills with tech fluency. And that entrepreneurial drive is a really powerful force for this generation within the trades. That seems key.
Okay, that leads perfectly into our final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Given how fast AI is moving and how Gen Z's expectations are different, how is the actual definition of blue collar going to change in the next, say, 10 years?
Yeah, what new kinds of jobs these hybrid roles will emerge, and what skills, mixing the old and new, will be truly essential, not just for getting a job, but for driving the whole economy forward.
Something to think about. And if this has sparked your interest, maybe look into what's happening locally.
Definitely. Check out trade schools, apprenticeship programs, see what workforce development groups in your area are doing. It's a space that's changing fast. It seems our time for today is wrapping up.
We really appreciate you joining us for this deep dive.
It's always great having your input and thoughts.
We hope you found our exploration of Gen Z and blue-collar jobs interesting.
And maybe even spark some new ways of thinking.
We were just getting into the different perspectives on this.
Yes, looking at sources that both supported and challenged the idea.
From Forbes highlighting those high-paying trade jobs,
to Newsweek suggesting Gen Z might be pulling back.
And even that CNBC video with Gen Zers choosing the trades.
It's definitely a complex picture with a lot of different angles.
But sadly, it seems we've run out of time for today.
Thank you so much for listening and for being such an engaged part of our podcast.
We always value your participation.
And until our next deep dive together.
Goodbye for now, and we'll see you next time.